business, and more. And today we're breaking down prompting ChatGPT and other AI. So I'm your host, Carrie Rollwagen, and I'm here with Alana Harmond. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
So Alana is our marketing manager here at Infomedia, and she also does a lot of writing for us. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to be asking you to share one cool thing that you found this week with our audience.
Cool.
But first, let's talk about AI.
Yay.
So I think we all know the feeling of being burned out at the end of the day and still having to write a blog post or an email or a policy or something like that. And we live in the age of AI, so we're probably going to pull up ChatGPT, whether we admit it or not. Mm-hmm. And it's actually really annoying when you finally say, okay, I'll use the robot, and then the robot does not help you. Because a lot of times you're just like, oh my gosh, which it doesn't make sense, but I'm like, why are you being so stupid? You know?
I know.
You only came up with like 500 words about this, but in the blink of an eye, but you didn't get it. So obviously, like, AI is a tool that professional writers need to leverage now, and you're a professional writer, so I'm hoping that you can help us get some better results out of AI, and maybe in particular ChatGPT.
Awesome. Yeah. I think in general, I probably spend more time prompting ChatGPT than anything. I think that that's what takes the bulk of the time when you're actually using AI is like crafting your prompt in the right way to get what you need out of it.
And we've talked about this a lot. I think we've talked about it on other episodes, but it is, or I find it the most useful when you are just like, it's almost just like I think some people call it blue sky thinking or something. Like, it's like, I just need some idea, you know, like I could talk to a little rubber duck on my desk and maybe just like explaining it will give me an idea, or I could throw something in the company Slack and just be like, anybody know anything about this? Or I could get a ChatGPT and it just like spits out some ideas that then maybe triggers a good thought for yourself or something.
Yeah.
But I guess you have like a list of specific prompts that you use, right?
Yes. So I love to just look up articles about this all the time because there's a lot of, obviously, like, everyone's learning. The AI is learning.
Yeah.
We're learning how to use the AI.
Yeah.
So people are sharing their experiences, and I have just found a lot of helpful tips, and some of them aren't even prompts, but more of just like things to include in your prompt that is gonna, like I said earlier, like it'll just make it give you a better response.
Yeah. So I thought we'd just kind of break it down, like maybe just share some of those.
Awesome. So the first one is, and this is something that I've started doing almost every time I use it, is like just including this line at the very end of your prompt. So say you need help writing an email for whatever. Say you need help writing a newsletter email. So you say, I need help writing a monthly newsletter email. I'm writing to this audience, whatever, like it needs to include some information about what's going on at my company. You list it out, and then you say, do not start writing yet. Do you understand? And it's a little bit mean. Like, it feels a little mean. But it actually has really influenced some better responses from it. And usually what it will give me back is, yes, I understand. You want me to blah, 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 blah. And it'll like restate the task, essentially. And in those cases, I don't know if it's just like a placebo or something, but when it tells me what it is going to do, like it ends up doing a better job at doing the thing that said it was going to do.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think this may be me being not understanding how it works, but I think like the more you interact back and forth, the like more it learns from those responses. So maybe even if it's its own response, it's like that way you have two ways of doing it. And then sometimes you just see where it doesn't understand too, you know?
Yeah. Or there's like, whenever I first started using it, I would get really annoyed because it's like, oh, I want you to use this paragraph as inspiration for the tone. and then you give it the paragraph and it thinks that you want it to rewrite that paragraph. So it
Yeah,
starts
yeah.
just giving, and it's like, no, stop.
Yeah, yeah.
But really, if you just say, do not start writing yet, then you
Yeah.
avoid that issue. Not that it's a huge issue, but it's kind
Yeah.
of like, ah.
It's not a terrible thing to ask people either. Maybe like, do not start yet would not be the way to do it, but like, let's make sure we understand
Yeah.
what we're talking
Let's make
about
sure we're
here.
both on the same page here.
Yeah. Okay, so number 1 is good. What's the next one?
Cool. So this is kind of along the same lines, but it's, please ask me any questions you need to help me write blank. So really just asking it to ask you questions. And it also helps you just know what it's going to look for in the future. So like if there's something that I didn't include, like it really needs a lot of information about the tone. And so if maybe I didn't include that in the original message, or it's like, I need more information on this. Usually whenever I tell it to ask me questions, it'll put out a list of like 5 to 10.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is, obviously. Some things are very simple, but the more specific it is, the more specific the questions will be.
So do you have to answer every single question, or do you just answer whatever you feel like answering?
You kind of answer whatever you feel like answering and just give it however much you can. But
that's helpful, because if
yeah.
you're talking to a person and you just didn't answer half the questions, that would be kind of rude. But
yeah, I know. I know. It's like, you didn't ask me to do this, but I have a list of questions for you.
Yeah.
But
all right, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the next one?
So the next one is, and this is just a good, easy prompt, but write something based on the bullet points. So this is a good one if you don't have a lot of time or like thought that you want to put into prompting it in general, or if you don't have a lot of information and all you are working with is like a few bullet points. It's like, hey, I actually need a paragraph about this thing that I don't really know a lot about, but here's what I do have. Then it'll give you a good response. But also on that same note, it's also very important to fact check it, because sometimes it provides information that's incorrect.
Yeah, it just makes it up.
Yeah.
I will say the bullet point thing, like when I'm acting as a copywriter, a lot of times that is something helpful to tell people. Like if they don't, some people prefer an interview and that's fine, but some people prefer to use an email or something. But even for me to just tell them like, hey, you don't have to write out a whole thing. You can just give me bullet points. It kind of frees people up, because you think like, oh, I have to start from the beginning and explain everything. But bullet points just sort of is a lot easier to come up with. So that makes a lot of sense.
Cool. And then the next one is rephrase to make this more funny, more professional, more inviting, whatever it is. That's just a tone kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's really helpful for like emails and stuff, I found, because a lot of times, like, I actually did this with a thing for Infomedia the other day. It was like we had this email that was very business, like very, very over the top professional.
Yeah.
To the point where it was like talking to a wall a little bit.
Yeah.
And we just needed to make it a little bit more like our voice, make it a little more friendly and approachable. This was very helpful. This prompt was very helpful in that case.
Yeah.
And then obviously you want to go through, and because when you ask ChatGPT to make anything be more funny or cheesy, it really takes it to the next level.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll say, now make it about half that amount. Like, but you do have to kind of work with it. It's definitely not like here's this perfect email.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll just be like, try it again. Yeah. Yeah. And then eventually you get.
And then it'll be like, I apologize for misunderstanding. Yeah. And then I'm like, I feel bad. Like, whatever.
Like, stop being passive aggressive. Yeah. One time I asked Siri when Memorial Day was, and it told me and then said, I hope I get the day off. And I was like, I have real employees who I can get this kind of response from.
I know, right?
Like Siri.
Gosh.
Cool. Well, I think these, like, so far these are great. I should have mentioned this, but can we put a list of these in the show notes too, in case somebody's like driving or?
Yeah,
cool.
For sure.
All right. Well, what is the next one?
The next one is turn this into a tweet or caption or meta description. So basically, if you have something that's written for like a blog post or something, but now you want to repurpose it and use it for social media, or like a meta description for your website or whatever, like it's good at cutting down the length of things. And I think that's another one that's included in this, but it'll kind of know like, oh, if it needs to be a tweet, it needs to be like way more concise than a paragraph or whatever.
Cool. So yeah, like whatever you're specifically writing for, you can just tell it to do that.
Yes.
Awesome.
And then the next one is give 10 alternative headlines or subject lines or titles. So it's really like as many as you need. But I find that the more you ask it for, the more variety you'll get to an extent. It's weird sometimes. But ChatGPT is a very helpful resource for things like headlines, subject lines, and titles. You know this. Carrie knows about me specifically that I really struggle with writing those things. It's difficult because you only have a few words to be able to really grab someone's attention or summarize like a whole paragraph or something. But
I don't know how much you struggle with it as much as you just hate it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I do hate it. And so this is a good way.
Me too. But I always am like, give me 5 subject lines or 5 headlines.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's annoying. I'm annoying like that.
Oh, you mean to me?
To you,
yeah. Not to ChatGPT. Yeah, Carrie wants me to provide the 5 options.
Yeah.
So then I just tell the ChatGPT to do it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But
then I'm like, this sounds like you use ChatGPT. Do it
again. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, depending on the use.
That's not true.
Well,
usually, yeah, but usually like you use it to get ideas, and then like adapt them
for sure. And like I said, they're very over the top in most cases. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna take that about 5 steps back. Like let's reel it in a little bit.
Yeah.
The next one, which I already briefly mentioned, is cut the length of this by 30% or 50% or whatever. That's really helpful because it is pretty good at deciding like what's relevant. And again, if also like on the opposite, if you needed something to be a lot longer and you're struggling and you need to add some filler, it's really good for stuff like that.
I think that's true. I think you can kind of just also ask it to cut its own stuff that way because it does tend to write really long and really wordy. It's like whatever the opposite of Hemingway is ChatGPT.
Yes, exactly.
So I do think that's like a helpful trick, especially even just as it gives you something and immediately be like, give me 50%.
Yeah, yeah. And then this is kind of just a tip, and I've talked about this earlier, but include a lot of information in your prompt, like your objective, audience, tone, keywords, etc. So if you don't include all of that, like I said, it might ask you to give you that information, but it's good to just do it from the beginning. And especially like the objective, I find it's like if you explain your reasoning for what this is being used for, you're more likely to get a better response. Because sometimes it's good to go back to that for yourself as well. Like, why am I doing this in the first place? Who am I speaking to here? And it'll often help you, like, think, oh, is this actually going to be what we need for this? Does that make any sense? I don't know.
It does. Like, that's exactly kind of what I was thinking. A lot of these steps, like, if we just step back and do this, like, also help us just to be better writers, you know, to just be really clear about what it is we're doing, you know, not trying to be too wordy, all of the things. So
yeah. And it can get mundane when you're writing, like, formulaically. If you have a template for something, or if you're writing for like social media or something like that, it's easy to forget, like, or get stuck in the like I said, the mundane of doing it over and over again. So it's like, oh, actually, this can be inspiring. I just need to think about it a different way.
Yeah.
And then asking like for keywords or asking about SEO advice is actually a thing that ChatGPT is really good at. So if you are writing a blog post or an article or something like that about, say, WordPress, whatever, back end of WordPress tools or something, like, tell it, or you could put in the text that you wrote and say, like, what keywords are the focus keywords here, or how could I improve SEO here? And it'll often give you the couple of keywords, and you can try to incorporate a few more of those, or you can use that information for like your metadata on your website. instead of just having to like do research.
Yeah, that's true.
So
like those metadata descriptions are really annoying to write. So I think that can be helpful. I do think, I mean, if you're really wanting to like optimize for SEO, like in a real way, pay a company to help you.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah.
So definitely do not use this as like your end all be all. Like this is not going to send you to the top of Google or anything.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it helps a little bit when you're like, I'm not necessarily trying to super optimize this, but I would love to like get as much traction as I can without like paying somebody to optimize it.
Yeah, or just having a focus keyword in general.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, and this is helpful if you're using it for something like that's a little more long form and you're kind of working with it and going back and forth a little bit. But asking it, what do you remember about this? So whatever the topic is that you're writing about, or like if it's for your business or whatever, it's like, what do you remember about our services? What do you remember about, you know, this topic for the blog post? And it'll tell you. And that way I'll find that sometimes it can lose sight of the point.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this reminds it, but I feel like it does.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when it repeats it, it's like, oh, yeah, this is, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do feel like having it recall all of that stuff at least gives you the confirmation that it's still, like, you're still on the same page. Because you can't talk to it. It's not a human, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Yeah. But it has memories, apparently. I feel like that's the most sci-fi of all of them. What do you remember about this?
I know. It is.
What do you remember about
that's
love?
That's crossing a little bit of a line, maybe. It's a little scary now that I say that. And that's like a weird one that I didn't see on any website. I just did it myself.
Yeah.
Because it was, I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was like losing sight of what the purpose was. And I was like, hey, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Why are you... What are we doing here anyway? Like, what do you remember? So,
are you, in that case, do you think you're having the existential crisis or ChatGPT is having the existential crisis?
I don't know. But sometimes I do often have one while I'm using it because I'll ask it questions like, I'll start to get really existential with it. Like, do you want to be writing this?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to help me?
Yeah.
Or was that a little bit of attitude that I sensed in your tone?
Yeah.
Because we're not going to do that.
Yeah. Well, cool. I guess as far as just like using, I think you mentioned already like the biggest thing about using ChatGPT, like, which is just fact checking. I mean, we've talked about this so much, but it really like sneakily will put in incorrect stuff and make it sound really correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's like one of the big, I don't know, flaws, but things to watch out for. And then also the cheesiness. Like, I think sometimes it's like overtly cheesy, and sometimes it's just like, it's just not, I can't put my finger on why, but it's just like, this is just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think, especially if it's at the end of the day, I think even just like resting, if you can, come back the next day and read it again. Like, you can probably make it so much better. So
yeah, totally.
And I guess our disclaimer, like, obviously use ChatGPT wisely depending on your business.
Yes.
If you work at like an aerospace company, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Like,
yeah.
You're writing instructions for...
Keep us all safe, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. I do think like this is really helpful. I think this is awesome, like, to kind of get better prompts, better results, and things like that. So
yeah, prompting, at least for me, has been the most challenging.
Yeah.
One of the most challenging things about using it. So
yeah. All right. So what is the cool thing that you're using this week?
So I've been loving the Good Notes app. I've actually had it for a while on my iPad, but it's like, it's for your iPad or whatever, but it's just like a notebook. And I use it because I don't always carry around a notebook like you do, but I like love that you do that because I like to handwrite things.
Yeah. I don't know why I felt the need to show people a notebook.
I mean, you got to prove it. But
I think it's like notorious around the office. It's like, like Caleb was saying something in a meeting and he saw me writing, I guess, and he was like, Carrie's writing down a note to bring that up in the leadership meeting. I was like, that's exactly what I was doing.
I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love to jot things down and I love to handwrite things. And I don't always have something like that handy. And I don't always want to have a Google Doc, like a folder with all these different Google Docs in it. So it's helpful. And they also gave me a year-long free trial, which is like pretty unheard of. And then after that, it's only $9.99 for the year. Yeah. So I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So does it like, does it use AI to like read the handwriting or whatever? Or is it just like you have to go back through your handwriting, or do you know yet?
Oh, it's not an AI.
Okay.
It's just a notebook. Like, but there's different, like, you can do like a checklist and you can change the color of your page. Like, if you don't want to be blinded by like a white page, you can do yellow.
Yeah.
So I have mine yellow like Carrie's.
Yeah. But like, does it like read it? Does it know what word? You know, like if you take a picture of handwriting with your iPhone, it'll like convert it or whatever.
Oh, like scanning stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. That would be interesting. Yeah. I need to look into that.
Yeah.
I've not used it for that yet.
Well, I mean, I asked you about a cool new thing, not a cool thing that you know every single feature. So it's called Good Notes?
Yes.
Awesome.
In the App Store.
Awesome. Well, this podcast is brought to you by Infomedia. We are a company that helps small businesses with everything related to websites.
Check us out at infomedia.com. We'd love to work with you. And infomedia.com is also where you'll go for show notes, which include links to everything we talked about today.
Sweet. And our list of AI prompts also. All right. Now for the end credits. One quick question is developed and hosted by me, Carrie Rollwagen. Alana is our... I was going to say marketing manager. Your Infomedia's marketing manager. You're the podcast producer. Our theme music is by Brad Davis, and our sound engineering is by our media team here at Infomedia, including Paul Bryant, who is here with us in the studio, but you can't see him because he's a spirit. Not really. He's just in the corner. All right. So we like to leave you with this thought. A real expert helps to clarify, not confuse. So don't take website advice from someone who can't give you a straight answer.